Pleasure to see all of you here joining us today for our, I think, our 5th or 6th live band app this year. So just to give you some background on how this works, I'm the Assistant Principal of I.S.24. On our screen right over here is Mr. Santamaria, the Principal of I.S.24. And today what we intend to do is to give you some updates and to also field questions that had came in through our social media apps and emailed into us earlier. And so let me explain to you what will happen next. Today, what we have is about 12 or so staff members are fielding questions. The staff members who are fielding questions represent all facets of our school, all departments, all categories, all areas of our school. So the team members will be answering the questions live in your chat as you're putting them up. The appropriate person will be answering your questions, and whatever cannot be answered will be documented, will be taken in, will be shared with Mrs. Corio, who is monitoring everything, and then she sends me over the questions in my earpiece, and I'll be able to relay it to Mr. Santamaria as we go. Any question we cannot answer will be put into the FAQs at a later time with the appropriate answer. In fact, all of the questions that are asked and have been presented to us will also be presented into the FAQs that you will be able to have. We're going to show you now where to go with that so you understand what's next. Can you please pull up the school website real quick? And so if you go to our school website, you'll be able to see that we have our health screening up there, so you can do it when you do arrive back to school. We have our blended learning calendar up here, and then we have our FAQs in the corner as well. Click onto the FAQs and you'll be able to see all the questions that have been asked of us over the course of this year, and the guidance that we received from the Department of Education, and we present that up there. The student COVID testing consent form is also up there so that you can easily obtain it and submit the paper document when you arrive back to school. Can you go to the blended learning calendar, please? The blended learning calendars are up, and it's going to come up in a minute. And on the bottom of the blended learning calendar, you'll see that each month is put in. So just scroll up the screen. Thank you. There you go. So right now we're only going up to March, but we do have the February calendar up there and the March calendar. And you can see that we're starting with Group B. Can you go back to Mr. Santamaria, please? And so what's happening is our website, our school website, has all that information for you. And today is about us giving you some updates. And I'm going to now turn it over to Mr. Santamaria, our principal, and he's going to start off with his presentation. Good morning, Mr. Santamaria. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Are we good with them? Is that loud enough on that? Mr. Santamaria, can you do that again? I'm sorry.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, they can. Thank you.
Okay. So just want to welcome everybody to joining us this morning for this special band app opportunity. I know students, families, and faculty and staff are joining us to hear some of the updates that we have to share and to field some questions. As you can see, I am streaming to you from school, but we have our faculty and staff members fielding questions and setting up the band app opportunity from their home, their living room, home office, basements. So this is a team effort. So I want to thank Ms. Corio, Mr. Borrero, and all the faculty and staff behind the scenes to put this together this morning. I am excited to be here. I spent this morning walking through the building and meeting with the custodial engineer in conversation about welcoming students back on Thursday, February 25th. And I can't tell you how excited I am that teachers and students and staff are going to be back in the building together again for the first time since November. So this empty, quiet building will come to life once again in about 2 weeks. So I know people will have questions this morning, but I thought there were some really good, appropriate questions that were asked in social media venues in the last day. So I printed some of those questions, and I'm going to start by just reading off the question. Some of them were repetitive, so I'm going to skip over a lot of them. But there were some really good questions that I think that kept coming up, so I believe many people want to hear some of these answers. So the first question was, will COVID testing be completed monthly or weekly? part of the reopening plan for middle schools and elementary schools back in December is that New York City public schools will undergo weekly testing and will require 20% of students and staff in the building on those testing days to be tested. We do not know in advance when those testing days will be, right? So right now, Group B, Cohort B students are scheduled to come in on Thursday, February 25th. We don't know if that's going to be a testing day for that week. It may be for Group C on Friday. So we don't get that notice until the very last minute when testing will be. There's not a lot of notice beforehand when that will happen. But testing will be weekly, not monthly. Another question was, will we have to take COVID-19 tests on the days we enter the school building? That's only if that was a day that was chosen by the New York City Department of Education for our school to receive testing. My hope is that it will be on a rotated basis. So if testing, for instance, happens on Friday, February 26th, it won't happen again the following Friday. It'll be during another cohort's time here, which would be either a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday the week after, right? The hope is that the same cohort is not tested 2 weeks in a row. And the testing is looking at students, faculty, staff, administration, anyone in the building so that we can hit our goal of 20% of people in the building being tested on those days. But it will not be required to enter the school building every day. A question was, will we be able to collapse a cohort to have more days in school since consent forms are continued and mandatory? So part of the outreach, that's a great question. Part of the outreach our school has been doing is to families who have not provided consent for a child to be to receive weekly COVID testing in school. The policy all schools in New York City are now following is if a parent or guardian does not provide consent for a child to be tested for COVID, the student must be removed and placed in a remote-only for the rest of the school year. This is the policy from the DOE. I am forced to follow it. I'm bound to it. And if we have students who still have not provided consent or family have not provided consent, we will look at that and provide one last opportunity. Once school opens, if that consent is not in, we will contact a family to say a child will now be moved to fully remote learning effective the next day and until June. That's non-negotiable. It can't be changed. That is the policy set forth when the elementary schools opened up back in December, and now for junior high schools opening up in 2 weeks. We are looking at the ability of, based on how many students do not provide consent, and if they go to remote-only learning, that may allow us to collapse some cohorts and give an opportunity for students to come more depending on their cohort. But we want it to be fair. We don't want to create an environment where 8 days a week, but 6th grade can only come an extra 1 or 2 days a week. It's very difficult. 60% student body coming from school and creating a fair save across the board. We have begun with certain classes coming 5 days a week, and the Department of Education has said it's okay to start with some groups and not all, so that we're respecting social distancing and safety measures and the amount of people traveling into the building in the morning and the rooms that are being used. So before we closed again in November, we did have students coming 5 days a week. We will be looking at more classes soon to try to start the first week of March. But we need to finalize by the end of the week today any families who have not provided mandatory COVID testing in school. That will help us in a huge, huge way. So families, if you have not provided consent yet, please do so. Fill out those forms. You can do it on the New York City Schools account. School and staff are reaching out. Okay. Please call us back respond to the emails because we need this information. Also, part of the communication that our teachers and our staff are doing, private phone numbers. So if the numbers come up blocked on your phone or house phone during the school day, please answer the phone.
Mr. Santamaria, I'm just gonna, can we just interrupt Mr. Santamaria for a minute? Mr. Santamaria, I'm gonna have to just interrupt you for 1 minute because there's a little bit of a lag. So we're gonna see if it catches up.
Okay.
Because it's coming across on this end with a little bit of a lag. While we're waiting, right, while the system is trying to catch up, I'm just going to reiterate what it was you just said, okay? So for those of you who missed what Mr. Santamaria was saying, if it didn't come through clearly enough, what we would like you to do, for those of you who are coming in through blended learning, we would like you to complete your screening and your consent form prior to arrival. If you can use your New York City Access email so you can go ahead and give consent, that would be the best way of doing this. This would give us the opportunity to arrange for classes and to ensure that we have the right numbers and everything else is coming through appropriately. The option is for you to do the paper form and bring it on the first day that you come in. The problem with that is it doesn't permit the school to be able to prepare appropriately for the numbers of students and things of that nature. So anybody who can do that in advance, we appreciate it. If you can't, please contact us through our email and through our phone numbers that we have provided to you before. And this would be a great way of us being able to help communicate with you. You can also communicate with your parent communicator, Ms. Barbara Nizzolo. And I'm going to ask that Mrs. Personette please put that into the stream of her email. We'll also put this out on the FAQs as well. Does it look like it's back up to speed with that?
I think so.
Lenny, can you just give us a move so we know you're not frozen? There you go. There we go. All right. Mr. Santamaria, one of the big questions that's coming up on that topic specifically is with the cohorts is, will the school be able to condense the cohorts to allow students to come in more frequently?
So that question, can you hear me? Am I coming through okay?
You're coming in now fine. You're coming in good now. Yep.
Okay, thank you. So that question actually helps follow up what I was saying a few seconds ago, is we are actively looking to condense some classes, meaning merge some classes together, and that'll allow us to possibly offer more days of school for certain cohorts. But it can't be done for one while someone else isn't getting the same exact thing. So we have been looking at this for the last 2 days, and the last missing piece is how many students will be actually physically coming back in person. And that stems from, are the consent forms for weekly testing in place so we know who is physically coming to school and who will be going fully remote? Because that will create new classes in remote learning for cohort D, and then that'll give us an opportunity to say, okay, either cohort A, B, or C grade may be able to come to school more days a week. So we are actively looking at that. We should have an answer soon, but when school reopens on Thursday, February 25th, and then February 26th, we still will start with the cohort schedule that we updated on the website, www.barnes24.org. The February and March cohort schedule is online on our school website. There's a tab to the left that says Blended Learning Calendar. So cohort ABC students will see the February and March calendar up until the end of March. Once that changes, and if that does change, we will notify all families, students, staff, and families with enough notice to know how the cohort days will change. But we are actively looking at that right now to try to have some condensing so we can try to have more days on the calendar for cohort. So we are looking at that. The second we know, we will be able to share that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Santamaria. The next question, and this is something that's coming up, or this lines up right with this, with the testing. So parents would like to know two things. One, who is being tested? Well, it's actually multiple. It's multiple questions in this one. Who's being tested? Who determines who's being tested? Will they be notified they'll be tested? And where do they get the results?
Okay, multiple point question, all very important to ask. So the principal of a school receives notice that testing happens the night before. So, for instance, if the Department of Education picks our school for testing on February 26th, the principal is made aware the night before, February 25th. Lab technicians will come to the school to draw samples of students that are randomly selected. So the Department of Education says, okay, Friday, February 26th, we know is Cohort C. If the following students are present for Cohort C that day, they must be tested in the library, whatever time frame we have. So the Department of Education provides a list of who the randomly selected students are. And they are students who have consent on file and are present on that day in the building. Once testing takes place, the lab leaves, the samples go to a lab to be processed, and families can get their results and staff get their results by either calling a number or an email that's provided that's connected to the child in the school. They'll get their results that way. The school will only know if someone is positive after testing because it would require a principal to have to send notices out that a classroom may have to be closed, or multiple positive cases, it could lead to a school closure to be investigated.
Yep, you did. Mr. Santamaria, just so you're aware of it, what we're doing is we're going to be sending you a text. Ms. Corio is going to be texting you directly to ensure that we're staying on time and we're on track, okay?
Got it.
So the next question comes into, Ms. Corio, can you please repeat the last two questions you sent over to me, please? Okay. Let me give that to him first. All right, so Mr. Santamaria, the next question comes into, parents want to be able to switch from blended to remote or remote to blended. How do you go about doing that, and what's the proper procedure? And more importantly, what were the time frames in order to do either one?
So for a parent to decide on having a student move from fully remote to in-person is over. There is no open window or period for a student to move from fully remote to in-person learning anymore. That time period ended back in the late spring. So there is no further opportunity for that to happen. The window for a parent to decide if they want to move their child from in-person to remote is still open, but I would recommend that a family not make that determination until school starts again after the 25th. See that the same procedures are in place, that we have all the safety measures in place, and get back into that routine again. We will be back for 2 days in February, and then there will only be a week left in the second marking period, and the third marking period begins Monday, March 8th, and that will take us till the end of the school year. So with the third marking period starting rather soon, I think it would probably be best to allow students to remain in person for the rest of the school year if they already were.
Okay. And the next question follows up with, parents would like to know if they were going, while during the remote period of time that we've been in for the last several months, the students have been receiving 5-day instruction from their teachers. Now that they're going back into the blended, now this is pertaining to the blended classes only. We recognize that the remote students will continue to have their same teachers and they're meeting with them 5 days a week. But for the blended students that are now going back into the school, will they be receiving the same number of days? Will they be receiving 5-day instruction? What will that look like? Can you please remind us what that procedure looks like?
So it's correct that all remote students will still be in their Cohort D fully remote environment with their teachers. For students coming to blended in-person learning, students who, for instance, Cohort B on Thursday the 25th will be live in a classroom with their teacher, and Cohort A and C will be able to stream into the classroom with their teachers, as teachers have made opportunities available for students from the same class to receive the instruction at the same time as the in-person students.
Thank you very much. And I think what we want to do now is we want to hit some of the questions as we're just hitting our 10 o'clock time period right now. We want to answer some of the questions that had come through our advance notice. Are we still allowed to have after-school programs?
So I was just reading that as one of the questions I wanted to get back to. I spoke to the director of UAU after school, and I know she is going, Ms. Goodman is going to be reaching out to families and students in the UAU program. They are looking to restart the UAU after school program again by cohort for students that are in on certain days again. As for any other after school programs, we do not have an understanding if we would be able to start that up yet. Any of the sports programs or any of the after school programs, that's still unclear, and we're waiting on guidance from the Department of Education on that.
Excellent. The next thing that we're going to hit up is 8th grade activities, specifically the dance, graduation, ceremonial events. Can you touch base a little bit about that? And also, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, we do and we will have an FAQs on our website specifically for 8th grade. So much of that is coming up. We have it almost ready, so it will be up most likely by the end of today, if not sometime next week. Mr. Santamaria, 8th grade activities, what can we expect?
So for the class of 2021, shout out, Mr. Santamaria shouted out today with his senior shirt on. So to my class of 2021, we have a graduation date on the calendar for June. We have a time. We're just trying to finalize an appropriate outdoor location. We're looking at 2 possibilities for an outdoor graduation ceremony that follows the current social distancing rules and all the safety and health guidelines. We know things can change between now and June, but you are a large 8th grade class. So whether you're in cohort A, B, C, and D, because you are so large, there might be separate graduation ceremonies on the same day, depending on where we will hold the ceremony. Because there are multiple places we are trying to finalize by the end of this month. So there will be a graduation. You may all not graduate together at the same exact time because of space and safety issues, but there will be one, if not up to 2 or 3 graduation ceremonies on the same day. The first one possibly being 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and then 2 others the same day to accommodate families, space, and health and safety guidelines. We have to make these decisions sooner rather than later because every other school is trying to do the same thing we're doing. So we have to secure seating, a facility, sound, everything. So we should have something finalized with locations by the end of the month or beginning of March. Our COSAs, Ms. Passarelli and Mrs. Hecht, have been working on this with Mrs. Simeone to finalize something. I'm meeting with them next week when we come back to try to get something down, finalized with the places that we're thinking about. For my 8th graders, that's graduation. An award ceremony we are trying to put together for 6th, 7th, and 8th for that as well. Again, keeping the safety and social distancing guidelines. It's a little difficult to book right now, but we are looking to put something together. For 8th grade students and families, we are planning to senior dues. Many families have already submitted senior dues. Keep getting your senior dues in because that helps us to provide for these events, to pay for to provide yearbooks, the facilities for graduation, and anything else that we want celebrations.
Mr. Santamaria,
I'm sorry, Mr. Borrero, in regards to an 8th grade dance, that's still unclear if we would be permitted with that. Just because restaurants and catering halls might be open, we have to wait to see what the DOE would allow us to do with large groups of students in indoor facilities. So that is still being worked on, and we're waiting for information. Go ahead, Mr. Borrero.
For those of you who are unable to hear that, because we know there was a little bit of a lag for the last minute or so, all of the 8th grade information, including the graduation events, dance, and the guidelines that we have to go by, will be posted in the FAQs on the website very shortly. In reference to the other piece of the busing, we want the last question, Mr. Santamaria, in reference to busing. Can you address busing for students? And then that would be the last question for the day, because we are hitting our time period. We have about another 30 seconds or so.
So nothing is really changing with Yellow School Bus. If you are a 6th, 7th, or 8th grade student who is eligible for busing the way you were up until November, that will continue. So if you are cohort A, B, or C, and you are entitled to ride a Yellow School Bus on your specific cohort day, that will still be in place.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry, I'm just getting something from Miss Corey. I'm sorry, Miss Corey. We'll say that again. Okay. So many of the questions that came through, we did hit on all of those questions to a large degree. Anything that we did not cover will be on our website in the FAQs, including the questions we did answer as well. We'll put those up there today as well. Please check our website for the FAQs, all of the consent forms, and Mr. Santamaria's, all of his updates. Mr. Santamaria, go ahead.
There was a question that came through social media. Correct me if I'm wrong. Today's band app meet will be recorded and available later on if a parent or student was not able to view it?
Absolutely. So we're going to be editing in a little while. We'll cut off the beginning, which is about 4 to 6 minutes of just waiting for people to come on. We're going to put that together. Once we get it condensed and edited, which is really just for the time purposes of getting it onto the app, we need to be under a certain time period, then we'll put that in. It takes a little while to do, but we'll get it done for you. And they'll see the entire length of it.
And can I just have one last closing statement?
Absolutely, it's your show.
So, oh, thank you. So to all our students in cohort A, B, C, or D, I want to say you're doing a phenomenal job. To our teachers, our paras, our staff, everyone working from home or trying to hold all these meets. I know how difficult everything is. Students, I give you a lot of credit. I know this is not easy. But cohort A, B, and C students who will be returning in 2 weeks, you will help us start the process of normalcy again and getting back into routines again and feeling like we could see the light at the end of the tunnel eventually. So we want to thank everyone who, and we appreciate students who are coming in person, cohort D students who are fully remote, and cohort D teachers that are fully remote. Thank you. We know that I know I would love to have you all back here in the building, but I understand the circumstances and the situation. I thank you for the effort that all of you are taking part in working remotely, whether you're a student or a teacher. Also, to all our parents out there, I know this is not easy. I'm a parent also. I know this can be difficult. The uneasiness of when were the students going to go back, how can they go back. We're here with you. Parents, guardians, always feel free to reach out to us. Read all the information we send out by email, pupil path, social media. Listen to the phone messages. We're here as partners. We want to make this work with you. We want to finish strong from February to June and really make this memorable. So let's go together. Students, I want to just say I cannot tell you how proud I am of you. When we left here in November, every day I would walk through this building or watch you come into school with your grab your mask out of someone's car if they dropped you off, being prepared, following the rules, having your health screening. I could not be prouder of you. I just need you to continue that for a few more months. We will get out of this. We will get to graduation. 8th graders, you will get to high school. 6th and 7th graders, you'll move on to the next grade. Prepare for next year when we hope that we will all eventually be back together. So this was just my parting thought. Tomorrow is the Lunar New Year. To all our families celebrating, have a great holiday. Midwinter recess is next week. School is closed Monday to Friday. Be safe, be smart, and be healthy. And that's my last word, Mr. Borrero.
Thank you very much, Mr. Santamaria, and thank you to all our staff members who are doing a phenomenal job answering all the questions. Have a wonderful week off. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep on smiling, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great day. Enjoy your next week off.